Yeah.
Yeah, right. The molds are expensive.
But you have plenty of space with smarts.
We do now. We didn't have any.
Well, that's why we had all the Epsons.
No, we only had one for these.
Okay, so
It's still crooked.
yeah, that's
And turn to the right. and
So
go back
annoying.
to the left.
Did you enjoy your Tuesday off?
No.
I miss your soothing voice.
Is that why there was nobody else here?
So I had a good conference, but they kept us busy. The highlight though was I got to tour a data center for like several hours.
That sounds like fun.
You just walk up and be like, what does this do?
What happened when I pulled this out?
They actually let me wander around. I was looking in all the racks and stuff.
Yeah.
So
Look for spare parts.
the way this data center is
Say
set
your
up,
drink on it. Shit.
I was looking at the rack that had, they were SSDs, 200 and whatever, 240s, and it had like 50 of them.
Yeah.
And
Dude, I'm amazed at how cheap SSDs are. I went to Best Buy the other day. You get a 512 one for $139.
yeah, they've come
I'm
way
like,
down.
what?
For a laptop? Or
Yeah,
Yeah.
2.5.
2.5 inch. Yeah.
So this facility is considered a 100% uptime facility. So they source power from two completely different parts of the grid. One's like basically direct from a power plant here, and then another from a completely different. So like the chance of both grids going down are low.
Plus have UPSs on
Then
Just for that short changeover time.
they had two full rooms of batteries. One for it's the red and the blue. The red is one of the power sources and the blue is the other. They had the red room and the blue room. They had 4 Caterpillar, like I think they were 1 megawatt generators with 23,000 gallons of diesel. That can run the facility for 5 days. The batteries can run for 30 minutes. So they have plenty of time
Where was
to
this at?
in Indianapolis.
Oh. Like I say, because when I worked for Caterpillar, I used to work on those generators.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, it was.
they're big,
Oh yeah,
like semi-trailer size generators.
yeah. I worked on all the ones for the hospital up in Great Falls at Benefice. And
Okay,
all up on the roof.
so they do some cloud hosting in this data center. They use they had a poster. I couldn't, of course, take any pictures, which I wanted to, but of their current
Do you know
cloud.
they have glasses that have cameras built into it?
Yeah, I wish I had.
I was gonna say I
The
got Google Glass. Could have wore them.
I did take pictures of their system monitoring boards in the lobby before they told us not to take pictures, but
Before they took your phone and smashed
because
it.
we had to get checked in, and then we all had to show IDs and get badges, and then they had to do biometric scans to get into every separate room to let us through. So
They're looking on the window.
it's a pretty high security
Changing a
area.
hard drive at a computer.
Yeah. So the cloud ones, one of the interesting things to me was they use Juniper
You'd be surprised.
networking in there, and I got to talk to the guy about why they chose Juniper. Just interesting because that's what I'll be teaching in the fall at high school is Juniper certification.
If you learn that stuff.
But then, and I just didn't really, I guess I wasn't aware of this as a model for a data center. So that's a couple rooms, but then they have these other big rooms that are where they supply the power and the connection and you bring your own stuff in. So they're locked cabinets, and then a guy comes and installs all the equipment. So each of the cabinets, the racks, has a different equipment in it, depending who installed it. And it was interesting looking at some of the junky wiring, depending, just who did it. And you don't know who any of them are, but.
The one I've always wanted to see is Apple's big one out on the East Coast. It's 2.6 million square feet.
Yeah, this.
Inside, it's
The
like
scale
one
of
the
this
biggest
is
ones in the world.
Nothing like that, but. And then they had different levels, like the ones they just lock they have a door, a mesh door, and they lock. There's another level where they're in a mesh door inside of a locked cage. Like you can pay more, so it's like less people have access to, I guess, to potentially mess with it. I don't know. Like
I know data security starts with just locking the facility
Right.
down itself.
now, when I used Rackspace as a host and I got our SSL certificate, and I had to prove the security of our data at Rackspace. Rackspace told me that they had guys with machine guns guarding the doors.
Yeah.
There was no machine guns here. And I asked the guy about that, and he laughed and said that none of them have that. They just say that. Like, that's basically a bluff.
I was gonna say you
And
can
like-
ride by the one that Google owns in Oregon. As you're driving out to Portland, I can't remember where the town it's in, but it's in this tiny little town
Uh-huh.
right down the road from a hydroelectric dam. That's where all the power comes from for it. And yeah, there's just like a little fence around it. There's no
Yeah.
barbed wire, no nothing. I mean,
He said that, I mean, yes, we had to get into the lobby, and then you have to biometric scan to get in and all that, but that's about the extent, other than like some secure government ones,
Yeah.
So he basically told me that Rackspace was full of it on that claim, but
See, that's the name of their program, is Armed Guards at the Door.
but it was just it was interesting to see, and just I don't know. I mean, I've talked about them so much to my high school kids and stuff, and just to actually go into one. I would like to go into one of the really big ones, like one of the Amazon ones,
Yeah.
or
like I said, the one that Apple's got, I think it's like the third biggest one in the entire world. There's one huge one in China. It's like I think the one in China is the biggest building ever built or something. Like,
they had said the biggest data center. They actually said it was in Japan,
yeah, maybe that's.
and that it's
maybe
so big that nothing will ever even come close to being as big as
Yeah.
that. Like, it's dwarfs everything, and this place is not like, I mean, they're like kind of a mid-range.
Yeah.
But they have a bunch of data centers in the Boston and around that area.
I mean, what would be the advantage of building one gigantic data center? Just like,
It's actually better if they're
Just one-
spread out.
yeah, I was
mean,
gonna say. I mean, you think,
I'd say it's a disadvantage to build one gigantic one.
yeah,
Unless you have some certain specific power source or cooling source or some reason like that, but
what did they use to cool that?
Niagara Falls.
right, yeah, you could cool and make electricity. The cooling, I actually never heard them specifically address.
Yeah.
In the big room that we were in where they had all the self-installed stuff, they all have a hot side and a cold side. And like they were putting off a lot of heat. Like if you walked through the hot side, it was like toasty. But yeah, where they were sourcing. And the other thing he said, like the security for this, is it just looked like kind of a nondescript building in a sort of light industry area. Like you wouldn't have guessed what was inside of it, but
Yeah, the only one I've ever seen is the one for the state. And at the state library, I helped a friend. They did updates on the software there, and I helped them over the summer with it. And yeah, I mean, they just had big fans in there. I mean, it just ran 24 hours a day with just big fans blowing on them and stuff. So
I guess the advantage of like carrying your servers down there and putting them in is just you're guaranteed that uptime of power, and then they have fiber between all their locations, like direct fiber. So, and they have multiple paths. So they go to Chicago in 2 different ways. So like you have a lot more redundancy of access than you would if you just threw them in the basement of your building. The backbone there is much better. They mostly serve clients out there in that part of the country. But it seems like there's
I've
one
heard
other
that's
thing.
kind of a big thing now. Is just there's no real advantage to having like your own stuff on site. For a lot of people. I mean, obviously big places, yes, but for a lot of places, it's just cheaper to host it from someone else because the runtime. I mean, your uptime and downtime is just non-existent basically. I mean, if you,
Yeah, I mean, I guess until you have to fly there to
that's
put a
true,
new
yeah.
piece of equipment in.
What about liability insurance? Would that enter in at all if you have something off-site versus you're responsible for it?
Yeah, you know, by it being in that facility, you automatically gain a lot of the whatever all those certification, you know, of security of the site. You gain those without having to have them yourself. Like when we were getting our SSL certificate, if we'd have said that our server was in a closet in our office, it probably wouldn't have cut it, you know. But like if you're,
It's fireproof.
I had an armed guard with a machine gun standing outside.
yeah, I carry a pistol on me all the time, and I'm always there.
I hired a redneck to stand outside our office.
When you got Tom a job?
I got the guns, I got plenty of them.
Yeah. We got a gun safe in the office. It's good.
I feel like there was something else I was gonna say
You all the same.
about that data center.
No, I think that'd be pretty cool to go see. I mean,
Oh,
I'm sure they don't just give tours of these
no,
places.
no. They only let about a dozen of us in. There was 1,800 people at this conference, and to get to go on these tours, they had a number of them. And you were supposed to sign up ahead of time, but the system got all screwed up,
So you just walk.
and no. So they decided we're going to throw out all the signups, and we're going to do a lottery. So you had to go and say you had to pick one, and then they randomly chose who got to go. And you could go to see Lucas Oil Stadium. You could go to the data center. You could go to Developer Town, which is like a place where they develop software. There was a bunch of them, but
I just got a mental image of you like Mr. Bean walking around randomly and going in all these places and nobody even noticing you. Like,
I was totally like just freely wandering around looking at all the racks, and they never said anything. So everyone else was like in a group, and I'm just off like looking at all the equipment and scoping it all out. But
Pushing your glasses.
wanting to take pictures, but I saw the sign that said they had like 45 closed circuit, you know, cameras in this one room. So
Well, you're on TV.
now I think I had known this before, but it's like, you know, things and then you forget about them. But the guy had brought up about the reason that Amazon got into Amazon Web Services. You guys know this? So the equipment requirements to handle Black Friday are so big that they have all this equipment and they use it for like 2 weeks, and then all that resource just sits waiting for the next Black Friday. So they decided, well, we'll just rent that out the rest of the year. So, and I feel like I knew that before, but then I had forgotten. So, all right, real class stuff. So how are we doing with the assignment that's due tonight, right?
Haven't even started.
We'll be taking a concentrated look at that and see.
I got half of the stories done already.
Okay.
I'm done.
So this is you're creating a context level data flow diagram, a level 0 diagram, or several, and then your user stories. I haven't looked at Taiga, so I don't know. I got a couple updates of people putting stuff in. So
I'm sure you did.
no specific questions. We're good. We just need to finish it.
Do you get an email like
No, I
every
mean-
time we change something? So do you get like 30 emails?
Not every time, but I got a bunch of them for a while, and I've been just deleting them.
Like every time I go in and update something, you get an email? Because I know
Kind
every time
of.
you do something, I get an
Kind
email.
of, yeah. You know, and yeah, I'll just keep that to myself.
You know, I send all of yours to the spam email box. I mean, I get everyone for everyone else's, but yours specifically goes straight to the.
So, new stuff. Basically, about the next homework assignment. So, I have it set as due next Thursday, so a week from today. I mean, I could push it back a day or two. I just don't know. Do you want it to bleed into spring break?
No.
That's kind of what I thought. I mean, I'm going to give you another one before spring break, not really expecting you to work on it, but just giving you the option if you want to. So, I mean, I think a week. Basically, the idea is to make an ER diagram. Now, for you straight out of database, that should be easy. For you guys that aren't, there'll be a little more work and kind of wrapping your head around it, and we can talk about it Tuesday. Just it's newer. So for the 3 that didn't just take databases,
Wasn't that PhD class?
Yeah.
The guy who invented Pokemon got killed by a tree.
Yeah, I saw that
Who?
last week.
Oh,
He did the design
yeah.
of the characters for the original Pokemon. I know.
I went to a session about teaching PHP at the conference. The thing is, though, a lot of
you
these,
don't care about Pokemon that much.
I had become friends with the guy that was teaching it, and he was going through, and someone asked him a question about, remember how we had to do that MySQL I, that was the library to connect to, or MSSQLi. PHP has been transitioning out of their old database connection, and there's a newer option called PDO, which is not what we used. And he was talking about, someone asked, well, why would you use this one versus this one? And then he kind of answered it, but I knew like the real reason. So then I asked a question. I was like, well, would you choose the PDO because it's database agnostic? And he's like, yes, that's why you would choose it. So some of these sessions, I don't know, it's just, I go because it's interesting, but I'm not going to learn like a lot because I probably know more than the person teaching it, but it's still interesting just to hear a different perspective and a way to do it. So so you're going to do ER diagram. I prefer crow's foot notation because that's what we did. But if you really want to go circles, ovals, triangles, or diamonds, that would mostly be for, well, like people that didn't just take databases, if they've done databases in the past, like perhaps Stan or someone else may have done database stuff before and don't have to completely learn a new modeling technique. So you can just use Lucid Chart. So that easy, keep it in the same software. Say I copied right out of the last assignment. Place links to your diagram in a wiki page. You can just put them below the links to your data flow and just label them ER diagram.
Did you cite the source? That's plagiarizing.
Yeah. I might add some more details into this. I ran out of time before, I got back at 12:30 last night.
And then you were
Had to be at work.
Oh my gosh, I could see all the racks and stuff, and your wife's like, I really don't
At
care.
7:30.
What racks were you talking about?
Hey, we're going to Disneyland again.
Yeah, right. Part 2, I just keep my mouth shut. So part 2 is the second half, which is to create a physical database design based on your ER diagram. Or if you're not going to use a database, design and show me how you're going to store the data. I think most of us are using databases, maybe not you, right? Weren't you thinking about using a flat file or something?
I was thinking about it. So I haven't decided all the way.
Okay.
Even mentioned some stuff.
So I did say, I kind of skipped this in the ER, the diagram should be rooted in what your data stores were in your data flow diagrams, particularly your level zeros. If you said you're going to store data, you should model something to store that, because I hope it's not, I'm going to print it out and put it in a folder like our book example ones were, right? Like, or the circular file. You guys know what the circular file is? Okay, good.
Garbage can.
I say it to my kids, and they have, in high school, they have never heard that before in their lives. So I figured you guys would know what it is. But I'll add a couple more bullets here again. Either you can do a logical design like we did, where you list the table name and the attributes and underline the keys and do it that way, or you can just go into whatever tool you're going to do your database in and design it and print out some view of it there. That's sometimes easier. I think that was what most of you kind of congealed on last semester, right? Either. Chapter 7 and 9 do talk about this in your textbook. I did post some, and I will post some more references. So let's take a look at what I did post. I posted 2 articles about data modeling when using Agile techniques. So this whole idea of Agile, we're kind of designing as we go to some extent, right? So how do these traditional data modeling techniques layer within that? If you don't know exactly what you're going to create ahead of time, how do you design a data storage mechanism? So I posted these links, which kind of discuss that. So this is a pretty good article. He goes into how you are tying user stories into data models within a Scrum process. I'll kind of let you read this on your own, but the idea here, a lot of it is that you want it to be collaborative like the rest of the the rest of the project, not just, well, you're the database guy, go design the database, because that kind of breaks down the whole idea of how this works. The second article, Modeling in the Agile Age, it's actually a PDF.
What does PDF stand for?
Something document format.
Printable document?
Is it PostScript document format?
Portable.
Portable, it's portable, there you go.
I was gonna say picture document format because that's basically
Yeah.
what they are.
Yeah,
Like,
so here, this is from Asta, what exactly is that? Software design tools for Agile teams. So it's actually like a different tool for doing this stuff, but they had this good article about modeling in the Agile age, what to keep next to code to scale Agile teams. So this is kind of a long document. Why is that scroll bar so gigantically fat?
Because it's a short document?
No, it's not.
No?
It's 9 pages. I don't know. That's weird.
Are you racist?
So,
it's got a thyroid problem.
yeah.
That's an eating disorder.
So where is the design in Agile? So I like this. While code is the truth, it's not the whole truth. So that's kind of one of the paradigms of Agile, but the code is the truth deal. So this kind of goes in through this whole process. It gets down here eventually. They talk about doing use case diagrams and stuff, and I kind of decided against having you spend time on those, but we talked about kind of what they are. But they get down here and they discuss how ER diagrams fit into this process, domain models as class diagrams or ER diagrams. This is a use case diagram that you're not gonna do. I probably should have made you, but I want to get into the next thing. So there's a lot in here, but it does give a good kind of perspective of how those fit together. So that's a little reading. I think I gave you this exact same file in databases, but it's a quick start guide to crow's foot symbols. So I re-put this here if you had lost track of that, because I think it's good. I'm going to put a couple more bullets in here about, I just was trying to find something that was very succinct about normalization and going from ER to the other to help out the non-database class people. I just haven't found the resource I want yet. So what's that?
Wikipedia.
I mean, yeah, I was going to print out part of our other textbook, but then I'm like, well, the PDF's out there. You know, I'm not going to post it, but I mean, most of you guys probably have it or have the book, unless you sold it back.
I sold it for crack.
They probably gave you like $1 if you sold it back.
No, I kept it.
I think there's a lot of books in the computer science world that are not worth keeping because I kept every book I ever used in undergrad, and 90% of them I never opened again. But my database book, database stuff hasn't changed that much. Like it's all kind of the same. So those.
Steve asked what book we were using, and I showed him. He started laughing. He said he used the same book when he took it.
For databases or for this?
Same author.
Okay.
For databases. Yeah,
we use the 6th edition, but I took stuff out of the 7th edition, and they're like almost, because I had both, they're the same. The 5th was almost the same. They add a little bit. It's just so they can sell more. If I teach databases next year, if they have 5ths that they'll sell cheap, I'd go with that, just because there's not much difference. So, well, I think that's about all I have. Unless you guys want something more.
See the pictures of the data center.
I wonder if I
turn off the webcam for
have the
broadcast
in the lobby, and I guess this is just so the guys that sit at the desk and anyone that's walking by can see. They have temperature monitoring. They had 3 monitors mounted with stats about it, and I took like perfect pictures of all of them because I told one of my friends or whatever that I was with, I was like, I'm just gonna take pictures till they tell us not to. And it was like 2 minutes later, they said no pictures at all.
See, I always like taking a picture of the sign that says no pictures. And I do that every time where
Nice.
some place is just like, I didn't know. You know, like snap a picture of it.
Bye on the Hangouts. Email me if you have questions.